Welcome back, you beautiful anomaly. You unmanageable force wrapped in human symmetry. You walking disruption that physics hasn't updated for yet. Sit with something for a moment. Something you were never meant to hear. Something whispered in rooms you'll never be invited to. Something too classified for the people who created the classification system. While you were living your life like a civilian, scrolling, breathing, healing, becoming, there were people in high offices staring at a still image of you, like it was a breach in the chain of command. Not metaphorically, literally. A man with real power, not Instagram power, not petty authority, but world-shaping power, felt outranked by your photo. And because his ego couldn't process that, because the hierarchy he worships collapsed in a single heartbeat, something happened in the building. A protocol activated. A protocol they've never seen before. A protocol that doesn't exist in their manuals, their archives, or their encrypted systems. And that's what's breaking reality for them right now. Your image forced the system to invent a new rule. Now pause. Feel the weight of that. A photo is supposed to be harmless. A moment, frozen, a pixel arrangement. But somehow, your pixels tripped a wire even the architects didn't know they installed. Somewhere at 2:14 a.m. in a control room thick with authority and tension, alarms blinked without sounding, screens recalibrated, and a warning label flashed that nobody had programmed. Unknown rank override. And the worst part for them? It wasn't an error message. It was recognition. It was compliance. It was submission. It was the system declaring, someone has entered the domain who doesn't follow our rules, doesn't kneel to our symbols, doesn't register in our hierarchy, yet outranks someone who built it. They couldn't believe it. They refused to accept it. They restarted the system. They scanned for viruses. They interrogated the software engineers at sunrise. But the code didn't glitch. The code adapted. Your presence rewrote it. And this is where things get interesting. Because if a photo of you can trigger a protocol that doesn't exist, what does that make you? What does that make your frequency, your existence, your impact? They don't even have vocabulary for you. They're using words like anomaly, unclassified authority, non-hierarchical dominance, sovereign presence, signature. They're trying to invent new psychological categories while pretending they aren't panicking. Because powerful people only panic in private. And you've become their private panic. Let me take you into the room. A 9-person panel sitting around a table built for strategy, not humility. A general, a director, a strategist, a behavioral analyst, a counterintelligence expert, a subconscious response researcher, an energy field consultant, and 2 people whose job titles are so vague, even their own families don't know what they do. The general starts first. He speaks slowly because he's trying to hide the tremble in his tone. Why did I feel outranked by this? He's pointing at your photo projected on a massive screen, larger than life, framed like a case study in supernatural interference. He tries to maintain composure, but every neuron in his body remembers the instinctive microsecond where something inside him saluted before his mind could protest. They replay the footage frame by frame, and there it is, the subtle tightening of his spine, the involuntary straightening, the almost imperceptible tilt of acknowledgement. Not respect, not intimidation, recognition. The behavioral analyst leans forward, eyes narrowed. Images don't cause that, not without priming, not without previous imprinting. He's responding to something beyond conscious classification. The strategist interrupts, or someone. They all look back at your photo like it's a forbidden artifact, like it's carrying a language they can't translate, but their nervous systems can. And that's what terrifies them the most. Your presence bypasses logic and speaks directly to instinct. Hierarchies crumble when instinct acknowledges a higher order. And that's exactly what happened. You didn't outrank the general on paper. You outranked him in his biology. By hour 2, the panic begins to camouflage itself as professionalism. They switch from asking, "What is this?" to, "How do we contain this?" But they can't contain what they can't categorize. They can't categorize what they can't predict. And they can't predict someone who didn't climb their hierarchy but stands above it anyway. Someone suggests that maybe the general's response was emotional, misfired memory, projection. But the general shakes his head. No, it wasn't emotional. It was structural. Something in me responded to something in them. The room freezes. They replay that word, them, because he didn't say the person. He didn't say the photo. He said them, as if you were a classification, a category, an entity, something bigger than the frame you were printed into. Hour 3 is where the real chaos starts. The system logs an event timestamp around the moment the general reacted. An automatic file opens itself, a file the system doesn't confess to having. A file labeled Protocol Orbital. There is no orbital protocol. Nobody at that table has ever heard of it. The engineers swear it shouldn't exist. But when they open the file, it contains exactly one line. Response required when hierarchy is neutralized by external presence. They stare at it like it's haunted, because that's what you've become to them. A haunting in their system, a ripple in their logic, a disruption in their architecture. They start arguing. Was this a dormant code? Was the system hacked? Was the general compromised? None of the explanations stick, because all of them rely on something you don't rely on. Permission, authorization, structure. You don't follow their systems follow you. By hour 4, the tone shifts. They're no longer discussing the photo. They're discussing the implications. Because here's the truth they're trying to avoid. Someone with real power felt outranked by a person who never asked for their approval. And if that person can outrank him, what does that mean for the entire hierarchy beneath him? It means the hierarchy is fragile. It means power isn't linear. It means influence isn't assigned. It's emanated. And you emanate without intention. You radiate without trying. You disrupt without effort. This is why the protocol triggered. Systems built on control always react when they detect something or someone who doesn't need their structure to hold power. Hour 5 is where desperation mixes with fascination. The counterintelligence expert starts proposing containment measures, monitoring, tracking, digital profiling. The usual tools of people who fear what they can't understand. But someone stops him, the strategist. Containment won't work. This isn't behavioral, this is gravitational. He says your presence behaves more like a field than like a personality, more like a force than a person. You bend perception, you rearrange dynamics, you reorder the invisible hierarchy people pretend doesn't exist. And the more they try to study the photo, the more unsettled they become. Because the truth is now unavoidable. Someone with real power felt smaller than you. And it wasn't a mistake. It was recognition. Hour 6 is the collapse. The quiet admission that they don't have the tools to analyze you. They only have the tools to react to you. Someone whispers, "We need to figure out what they want." And then the most uncomfortable realization settles into the room like fog. You don't want anything. You didn't post the photo to communicate. You didn't exist to send a message. You were simply being. And that's what terrifies them the most. Your existence alone is enough to topple their illusion of control. The general finally speaks again. I felt outranked because they're not operating inside the hierarchy. They're operating above it. He says it quietly, almost reverently, as if acknowledging a truth he spent his whole life avoiding. That rank is costume, power is theater, and authority is an invention that collapses the moment someone walks in, who doesn't need any of it to command reality. And that person is you. So now the room sits in silence, not because the meeting is over, but because the meaning is too large to speak. They saw something in your image they weren't prepared for. Something unscripted, something sovereign, something ungoverned, something that doesn't need their structures to stand tall. Your photo isn't just a picture, it's a frequency, a field, a signature that registers as higher order. And the moment they recognized that, their system folded. It invented a protocol to compensate, a protocol that still shouldn't exist, a protocol that only triggers when hierarchy encounters something it cannot outrank. And now, here's the part they still haven't processed. This was just the photo, not you in motion, not you speaking, not you realizing what you are. This was the weakest version of your presence, the two-dimensional imprint. Imagine what happens when they encounter the real thing. That's the thought that changes the oxygen in the room. Because up until now, they've been treating your image like an anomaly in the software, like a glitch in the sensory hierarchy. But the second someone whispers, if the photo did this, what does their presence do? The room fractures. It splits into two psychological camps. The ones who want to understand you, and the ones who want to contain you. Both sides are terrified, just in different dialects. The ones who want to understand you lean forward with fascination, like astronomers watching a star flicker in a pattern that redefines astrophysics. The ones who want to contain you lean back, like biologists realizing the virus they're studying can survive outside the lab and doesn't respect walls. And in the middle of it, the general, still rattled, still pretending he isn't, says the sentence nobody wanted to say aloud. If this is their weakest form, we don't have a response protocol for their strongest. That sentence detonates something quiet but violent in the room. The strategist starts tapping her pen, calculating the collapse of structures that rely on predictable human behavior. The analyst starts scanning through your online presence, your last movements, your digital footprint, trying to see if there were signs they missed, patterns that hinted you were operating at this level. But the truth is exactly what terrifies them. You didn't drop hints. You didn't build toward this. You didn't signal your ascent. You simply outgrew the gravitational field they thought everyone was stuck in. Now the room tries to reboot the discussion, but it refuses to reboot. Because you cannot organize chaos when the chaos is not chaotic, it's sovereign. And that's the paradox they're choking on. You're not unpredictable in the sloppy, reckless, reactive way people usually mean. You're unpredictable in the we have no metric for this way. You're not an error, you're an upgrade. And upgrades break systems when the system is outdated. Someone finally speaks up, the behavioral mathematician. He says, "We've been modeling human trajectories wrong. They evolve linearly. This," he points to your photo, "is nonlinear emergence. It's the kind of spike that collapses the model because it doesn't climb gradually. It jumps." The room hates this explanation because it forces them to abandon their frameworks. And frameworks are the only thing giving them the illusion of control. But the mathematician isn't done. He adds something that makes everyone uncomfortable. Nonlinear emergence is usually triggered by extreme internal recalibration, meaning this isn't random. They rebuilt themselves. And there it is, the part that humiliates them. You rebuilt yourself while they weren't looking. By now, the general is pacing in a slow circle, trying to hide the fact that he keeps glancing at the screen like it's a threat, a prophecy, and a confession all at once. The strategist notices and makes a note on her tablet. The note reads, "Instinctive reactivity is persistent," meaning he's still feeling outranked, even after the shock has worn off. That alone terrifies the others more than the protocol activation, because shock fades. But instinct? Instinct does not negotiate. Instinct does not apologize. Instinct does not recognize false gods. Someone finally attempts something ridiculous. They dim the photo. They literally lower the brightness on the display, like they're trying to dim the impact. The lights fade. Your image drops to 60% intensity, and nothing changes. The general still stiffens. The analyst still avoids eye contact with the screen. The strategist still has her heart rate spiking on her watch. Someone whispers, "It isn't the photo, it's the presence encoded into it." And that's the moment they realize they weren't reacting to pixels. They were reacting to the signature, the imprint, the field. Now they're spiraling. They're questioning identity, authority, structure, hierarchy, and their own roles inside all those things. Because if a single photograph can dethrone a man, they've spent decades trying to impress. What does that mean for everything they've built their authority on? It means the ladder they climbed wasn't a ladder. It was scaffolding. Temporary. Replaceable. Irrelevant in the presence of someone who operates outside the design entirely. While they're drowning in existential dread, the system does something else, something worse. Without being prompted, without a command, without an operator triggering anything, the system does a sweep. A full-spectrum analysis sweep. It scans your photo like it's scanning an unidentified celestial object. It runs your image through recognition software, not to find your identity, but to classify your impact. And after a full minute, 60 seconds of suspense heavy enough to fracture stone, it spits out a result that no one in the room knows how to interpret. The label reads, rank, non-territorial superiority. They don't know what that means. They know what territorial superiority is. That's military, strategic, geopolitical power. But non-territorial? That means your power isn't bound by land, position, title, or jurisdiction. It isn't anchored to anything physical. It's intrinsic, energetic, sovereign. You carry rank without territory. You carry authority without throne. You carry dominance without domain. You outrank the powerful because you don't compete with them. You bypass them. Now panic takes a new shape in the room. It's quieter, colder, more respectful. They look at your photo the way sailors look at storms, aware that survival is possible, but control is not. The strategist speaks again. She's calm, but her voice is trembling under the composure. We need to consider the possibility that we're dealing with an emergent hierarchy, one that doesn't require consensus, one that doesn't require recognition, one that imposes itself simply by existing. She pauses. We've been measuring power wrong, and they know she's right, because for centuries, power has been measured by external markers, rank, wealth, status, alliances, territory. But you've reintroduced a form of power they haven't accounted for. Internal gravitational authority. A power that bends how the environment responds to you. A power that doesn't need recognition to be recognized. A power that the body acknowledges before the mind can debate. A power that makes the general salute without understanding why. And here's the part that keeps them awake for the next 3 nights. If this is who you are now, who were you before? This question sends the analyst down a rabbit hole. She pulls up your old posts, old images, old traces of your existence, searching for signs of this frequency. But she finds something worse than precursors. She finds absence. You weren't posting in ways that show evolution. You weren't broadcasting ascension. You weren't projecting superiority. You were quiet, detached, focused on internal reconstruction instead of external performance. This means your transformation wasn't performative. It was structural. It was subterranean. It was a metamorphosis done in solitude, while they thought your silence meant irrelevance. The general sits again, exhausted by the magnitude of what he's confronting. "This changes everything," he mutters. The strategist tries to stabilize the conversation by asking, "What's our next move?" But the room stays silent, because when power is external, you strategize. When power is internal, you adapt. And when power is higher than yours, you kneel, intentionally or instinctively. Suddenly the system triggers again. A second protocol. Not a warning this time, a calculation. A line of text scrolls across the screen. Potential impact. Uncontainable, but non-hostile. The room freezes. They reread the words. Uncontainable, but non-hostile. That's the part that shakes them the most, because it means the system doesn't detect intent to harm. It detects capacity beyond response. You aren't a threat because threats want something. You don't want anything. You are simply beyond them. And entities beyond hierarchy aren't enemies. They're forces. Someone whispers, "So what do we do?" And the mathematician answers, "We update the system." But the strategist snaps back. No system can be updated fast enough to keep up with someone who's not operating inside definable parameters. You can't update a box to contain something that isn't shaped like anything in the box. This is the first honest moment of the entire meeting. It strips away their arrogance, their illusions, their sense of superiority. And in that vulnerability, they accidentally tell the truth. They are outdated. And you are the update. Now the general leans forward, staring at your image like he's seeing a holy relic. He says, "We need to understand why I reacted the way I did." And the psychologist clears her throat. She's been waiting hours to say this, and now she has permission. You reacted because your nervous system registered a higher rank. Not socially, not militarily, primally. She pauses. You didn't salute a person. You saluted a presence. The strategist raises an eyebrow. Are you suggesting hierarchy is encoded biologically? The psychologist nods. Hierarchy is ancient. But what outranks hierarchy is even older. Recognition of higher order isn't taught. It's instinctive. This is where the dark humor creeps in. Not because anyone laughs, but because the situation is absurd in its seriousness. A group of powerful individuals, armed with credentials, data, authority, and structure, are sitting in a room analyzing a photo, like it's a cosmic artifact that rewrote physics. And the hilarious part? They're not wrong. Your presence did rewrite the rules. Not because you intended to, not because you tried to, but because you evolved into someone who no longer fits into the old rule book. And the universe, ever obedient to truth, corrected itself around you. By hour 7, the meeting has lost all structure. They aren't discussing action plans. They're discussing definitions, identity, reality. They debate whether power should be remeasured based on internal calibration instead of external markers. They debate whether there should be a new class for individuals who operate beyond governance, beyond hierarchy, beyond psychological manipulation, a category for sovereigns. And then someone says what everyone has been avoiding. What if we aren't supposed to manage this? What if we're supposed to learn from it? The general looks offended. Learn from what? The strategist answers, not what, who? And suddenly the room shifts again. Because now they're not treating you like a threat or a problem. They're treating you like a phenomenon, a natural law, a cosmic event, something that wasn't meant to be controlled, only observed. And the most ironic part? They're right. You didn't break their hierarchy by force. You broke it by existing outside it. You became untouchable when you stopped playing. You became sovereign when you stopped seeking. And your photo is the evidence, a mirror reflecting back the truth they didn't want to see. They spent decades defining power. You redefined it with a still image. Someone finally asks the forbidden question. What happens when the world sees this? Not just us, not just the system, the world. That question collapses whatever was left of their composure. Because if one man in a secure room felt outranked by your photo, what happens when millions of unprepared minds see the same image? What happens when they feel the protocol activate inside themselves? What happens when they recognize your frequency without knowing why? The mathematician says something unnervingly calm. The same thing that happened to him, internal reorganization. The strategist looks alarmed. Meaning, he says, you reorganize people simply by being seen. This realization devastates them because influence can be fought, control can be resisted, authority can be challenged. But reorganization bypasses willpower, it bypasses ego, it bypasses self-concept. When your presence reorganizes someone, they cannot return to the version of themselves shaped by hierarchy. They are forced into a new orbit, and you become their gravitational center. Now they understand why the protocol triggered. It wasn't protecting them from you. It was warning them of the truth. The hierarchy is collapsing, not in the world, but inside themselves. And once internal hierarchy collapses, external hierarchy becomes theater. Illusion? A stage play performed for people who still believe power is assigned rather than emanated. By hour 8, they have one last conversation, the most important one. The general asks, what do we do if we ever encounter them in person? And the psychologist answers with brutal honesty. Prepare to feel small and don't resist it. Because it's not dominance, it's alignment. The general doesn't like this answer, but he knows it's true. Something in him already aligned. That's why he saluted, not because he respected you, but because his system acknowledged you. There is a difference. That difference is the fracture line running through every powerful person who's seen your image since. They don't talk about it publicly, of course not. People with power never confess when their foundations shake. But behind their titles, behind their reputation armor, behind the committees and clearances and secret hierarchies, something has shifted permanently. The moment they saw your photo, their bodies registered a truth their minds had been trained to reject. Someone outside their structure outranks them. Someone outside their chain of command commands them. Someone with no badge, no insignia, no classification, carries a frequency that forces automatic recalibration. This is the humiliation that terrifies them the most. Not that you're stronger, not that you're freer, but that their entire life's work didn't prepare them for the kind of presence you operate from. They studied strategy. You studied self. They studied control. You studied liberation. They memorized the rules. You dissolved them. And now, because of one photo, one still frame containing the imprint of a person who rebuilt themselves from ash, they feel like imposters wearing medals they didn't earn. The general tries to regain composure by pacing again, as if movement will help his authority catch up with what his nervous system already accepted. There must be a way to counteract the effect, he mutters. But the mathematician shakes his head. This isn't an effect. It's the baseline. You're reacting to truth. That word, truth, hits the table like a weapon. Because power structures don't survive truth. They survive belief. They survive illusion, and your existence isn't an illusion, it's proof of concept. Proof that someone can step out of the hierarchy, reject it entirely, and come back with a frequency that makes the hierarchy kneel. The strategist tries to reframe the situation. Maybe the reaction was temporary. Maybe it won't happen again. The psychologist spins her chair slightly, eyes still locked on your photo. It will happen again, and stronger, because this wasn't triggered by image. It was triggered by recognition. She taps the screen where your eyes are. This part, this is what activated the protocol. The general stares at the eyes on the screen like they're looking back at him. What's special about them? The psychologist answers, they're not trying. That destroys him more than anything else. You outranked him without effort, without intention, without performance, without even being aware of the moment he saluted, and that's when he realizes the most painful truth. Dominance achieved through trying is inferior to presence achieved through being. You're not playing a game he can win at. You're not playing at all. They start discussing containment again, but this time with a tone that has surrendered underneath its bravado. You cannot contain something you cannot define. You cannot define something you cannot categorize. And you cannot categorize something that exists outside the categories themselves. The general asks one more time, what do we do when we encounter them in person? And the strategist answers quietly, we pray our systems don't collapse. There's no sarcasm in her voice. It's pure calculation. Because here's the thing they're finally admitting to themselves. The photo was enough to trigger a protocol that doesn't exist. A protocol the system invented on the spot to compensate for encountering a presence that breaks structure. So what happens when you walk into the room, when your three-dimensional frequency collides with their two-dimensional stability? When your consciousness occupies the same air as people who couldn't even handle the ghost of your energy? They don't have answers, because answers require data, and the only data they have is already too big for their minds to hold. Someone in the room begins to lose their composure. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. The kind of quiet that marks existential collapse. She's staring at the screen with a sinking horror that no training manual prepared her for. She whispers, we're not supposed to have protocols for this. This is beyond protocol. This is origin-level stuff. Everyone turns to her, confused. She continues, protocols manage things inside the system. This didn't come from inside the system. And that's the moment the room collectively understands. The system didn't detect you. It recognized you. Recognition is ancient. Recognition predates hierarchy. Recognition is the body remembering something the mind forgot. And that is what terrifies them. Your presence awakened something pre-institutional, pre-power, pre-governmental, something primal, something that has nothing to do with titles and everything to do with truth. They thought they built the hierarchy. But the hierarchy inside them, the one wired into instinct, responded to you before the one they constructed could intervene. Now the general sits down again, slower this time. He's no longer trying to assert dominance. He's trying to preserve dignity. So what happens now? He asks. The mathematician sighs. Now we observe. Now we wait. Now we hope the protocol doesn't escalate. That word, escalate, electrifies the room because they hadn't considered escalation. They assumed the protocol was a one-time anomaly. But what if it wasn't? What if the system is still adapting? What if the system is still rewriting itself around you? What if the photo was only the first recalibration? The analyst checks the logs again, and her face drains of color. Something changed. They crowd around the screen. The protocol file, Orbital, has a new line that wasn't there before. It reads, awaiting further input from source. The strategist breathes the question everyone is afraid of. What is the source? The psychologist answers, not the image, the person. This means the system isn't done. It's waiting for you. It's waiting for the real you to step into the field. It's waiting for direct presence, direct activation, direct synchronization. This is where the dark humor sharpens, because these people, these professionals who pride themselves on being unshakable, are now terrified of something they can't schedule, can't map, can't anticipate, can't strategize around. They're waiting for you the way astronomers wait for a cosmic event, simultaneously reverent and horrified. Because you don't move according to their timelines. You don't announce your entrances. You don't schedule your breakthroughs. You show up when you decide to, and the universe updates the moment you do. Now the room has reached a level of panic so refined it looks like composure. They're talking calmly, but thinking violently. They're imagining scenarios. They're rehearsing reactions. They're calculating escape routes, not physically, but psychologically. How do you shield yourself from a presence that outranks you before you even understand how rank is being measured? How do you prepare for someone whose photo reorganized your identity? How do you meet the person when the imprint alone collapsed your hierarchy? You don't. You surrender. The general is the first to accept this. He doesn't say it aloud, but everyone sees it in his posture. He has stopped resisting. He has stopped debating. He has stopped pretending he is in control. Because deep down, beneath all the medals and discipline, beneath the persona of command, beneath the protocols and procedures, he knows the truth. He felt outranked because he was, and he will be again. Once surrender seeps into the room, it spreads. Not dramatically, quietly, like smoke finding its way into lungs that don't have the strength to protest anymore. You can always tell when powerful people give up on illusion. Their faces don't crumble, their voices don't break. They simply stop performing. And that's what happens now. Every person at that table stops performing the version of themselves that was built for hierarchy. The strategist's shoulders drop. The analyst's pen stops tapping. The mathematician melts back into his chair. They all begin to look strangely human, unarmored, unadorned, undone. Because the thing they feared isn't you. It's the truth you represent. The truth that hierarchy is only as real as the people who believe in it. And the moment someone walks in, someone like you, whose presence doesn't bend to that belief, the entire structure loses gravitational pull. What outranks power isn't more power. What outranks power is independence from its language. You speak a different dialect, one they never learned, one they cannot translate without dismantling themselves. By now they aren't discussing you. They're discussing themselves, how much authority was borrowed, how much relevance was manufactured, how much control was simulated. They talk in low tones, fragile tones, the tones of people realizing they built kingdoms out of fog. The general stares at his own hands like he doesn't recognize them. The metals on his uniform feel heavier, not because they changed, but because he sees now that they were always weight, never wings. The psychologist finally cuts through the silence. We need to shift our mindset. This is not about maintaining control. This is about maintaining clarity. The strategist scoffs under her breath. Clarity about what? The psychologist doesn't look away from your image. Clarity about the fact that we were never the top of the chain. We were just the caretakers of it. Something else outranks us, always has. She taps your photo. This just reminded us. The mathematician adds, and it reminded the system. This sends a chill through the room, because they all know what he means. The protocol that activated wasn't written by any of them. It wasn't coded by engineers. It wasn't drafted by analysts. It emerged. Systems don't create new behaviors unless something forces them to. Your image forced it. You bent protocol into existence. You made the system rewrite itself just to accommodate your presence. The strategist tries to salvage dignity. Maybe the protocol misinterpreted the input. Maybe the software overreacted. But nobody supports her. They've run out of denial. They've run out of excuses. There's nothing left to hide behind. The analyst shakes her head. It didn't misinterpret anything. It recognized rank. The general inhales sharply. He hates that word now. Rank. Because it used to be his crown. Now it's his confession. They pull up the system logs again, watching the strange new lines formed inside the orbital protocol. The updates weren't random. They were responsive. They weren't errors. They were adaptation. The system was learning in real time how to categorize something that doesn't belong to any category. You didn't break the hierarchy. You revealed its fragility. At hour 9, the room shifts from panic to reverence. Not the respectful kind, but the reluctant, unavoidable kind. Powerful people don't worship easily. They worship only when something strips away their resistance. And now, your presence, your frequency, has done exactly that. The general finally says, "This changes how we operate." But the psychologist corrects him. "This changes how you see yourself." Her words land like a quiet blade. Because she's right. This isn't about strategy or protocol or systems. This is about identity. When someone outranks you without trying, without hierarchy, without symbols, without effort, they reveal the truth about what you were relying on. Your titles weren't shields. Your badges weren't anchors. Your systems weren't safeguards. They were decorations, painted armor. And you, just by existing, tore the paint off. Someone asks, "Should we notify the board?" The strategist answers, "And tell them what? That someone they can't classify reorganized our internal hierarchy with a photograph? That the protocol system wrote its own response? That the general saluted a civilian?" No one answers, because they all realize the same thing. This information cannot be shared. Not because it's dangerous, but because it's destabilizing. If the wrong minds get access to the truth of what your frequency did, the hierarchy won't just crack. It will dissolve. And that is the quiet catastrophe unfolding now. You didn't attack the system. You didn't infiltrate it. You didn't even speak to it. You simply existed. And existence was enough. Someone finally says the line everyone is thinking. We need to prepare for the possibility that the person in this photo is not stepping into our structure. The structure will have to step into theirs. The room goes still again, because this isn't protocol. This is surrender disguised as strategy. The general is staring at your image with a haunted calm. The kind of calm a person gets when they finally accept that the world they built their identity on wasn't the world they belonged to. He stands, walks closer to the screen, and studies your eyes for a long time. No one interrupts him. His voice is low when he speaks. They didn't outrank me with power. They outranked me with presence. The psychologist nods. Presence is older than power. He exhales. Presence is power, and that's the moment they stop running from the truth. The general turns back to the room. We need to adjust our understanding. Their existence reorganizes ours. The protocol wasn't triggered because they were a threat. It triggered because we encountered a force of higher order. He pauses. And forces of higher order do not negotiate with structures of lower order. The strategist touches her forehead. So what do we do? The general answers with the only honest response left. We adapt. It's then that the system flickers again, as if agreeing. Another update appears, slow and deliberate. Status, awaiting embodied presence. The room reads it in silence. There is no confusion anymore. The system isn't scanning for your identity. It's preparing for your arrival, not physically, energetically, hierarchically. Something in the architecture is bracing itself for contact. The analyst murmurs, "This isn't a glitch." "No," says the psychologist. "It's recognition." But recognition of what? Of the truth. She whispers. The truth that authority is not something you climb to. It's something you become. And that's your quiet victory. The kind that doesn't roar, doesn't brag, doesn't posture. The kind that reshapes reality by existing inside it without bending to it. You outranked a man who thought he had reached the ceiling of power because you don't live inside ceilings. You don't acknowledge walls. You don't participate in their architecture. And now that they've recognized this, now that the protocol has adapted, now that the system has acknowledged a presence it cannot classify, now that they've surrendered internally, even if they'll never admit it externally, there's only one truth left for them to face. They haven't met you. They haven't spoken to you. They haven't been in the same room as you. They reacted to the weakest version of your existence, and that realization settles over them like a shadow that doesn't need light to be seen. Because if the photo outranked them, the person will unmake them. That is the quiet, sinister truth they carry home in their chests. A truth they cannot speak, cannot share, cannot exorcise. A truth that echoes every time they close their eyes. The hierarchy didn't collapse because you entered. It collapsed because you exist. And when the system finally encounters the full gravity of your presence, there will be no protocol left to trigger. Only recognition, not loud, not dramatic, just inevitable. Just true. Just you. Ah, welcome back, you beautiful genetic contradiction. Yeah, you. The one scrolling right now with that quiet tension in your chest. The one who's always felt like something in your existence has been slightly out of alignment with the world you were dropped into. Well, here it is, the moment everything starts making sense because they finally scanned your genes. Not a routine check, not a harmless report. An unauthorized extraction buried inside a medical system you never agreed to trust. And when the results came back, when your data hit the encrypted servers built to process anomalies, something happened that hasn't happened in over 200 years. They panicked, not metaphorically, not subtly, not in that bureaucratic flag this file for later review way. Real panic, silent alarms, emergency encryption keys, late-night summits between people whose names never appear on public records. Because whatever your DNA contains, it wasn't supposed to exist anymore. It wasn't supposed to surface. It wasn't supposed to breathe outside their controlled bloodlines. And yet here you are, a walking breach in their centuries-long containment strategy. A variable that reactivated, a sleeper code that woke up without permission. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like reality hesitated when you entered a room? Not in a dramatic way, just a shift so subtle it could be dismissed as imagination. The air thickening for half a second. People's eyes widening before they correct themselves. Conversation stopping not because of you, but because something in you interrupted the rhythm of the environment. And have you ever wondered why certain people, especially the powerful, the confident, the arrogant, seem instantly unsettled in your presence, as if they recognize something you don't even realize you're carrying? Or those moments when you sensed danger before it existed, when your instincts screamed warnings your mind couldn't justify yet, when dreams came through like encrypted transmissions from somewhere deep in your lineage, more like memories than imagination, when coincidences lined up with such unnatural precision that even the logical part of you whispered, "This is intentional." Yeah, I thought so. That wasn't anxiety. That wasn't overthinking. That was your blood reacting to forces older than your country, older than the institutions running it, older than the families who've been trying to keep your lineage contained. Because you carry something in your genes that was never meant to reach this century. A fragment, a sequence, a dormant key that was supposed to dissolve generations ago. But it didn't. It resisted dilution. It evaded extinction. It hid inside your ancestors, bled through their choices, survived wars, famines, relocations, name changes, forced assimilation. And now, finally, it surfaced in you. And the moment it activated, the old world orders felt it. Organizations older than your history books, older than the governments you think run the world, older than the religions that claim dominion over destiny. They've been monitoring genetic drift for centuries, tracing bloodlines, cataloging patterns, waiting for anomalies like you to vanish quietly. But instead of vanishing, you crystallized. Your DNA consolidated into something they thought they had erased, something their predecessors spent entire eras suppressing, something forbidden, volatile, strategic. Now 4 of the oldest power networks on this planet are scrambling, not arguing, not negotiating, scrambling. Because the results of your scan didn't just reveal a genetic anomaly. It triggered a countdown, a midnight activation cycle that only appears when a specific genetic pattern, long lost to time, reawakens. And once midnight hits, the activation can't be reversed. Whatever you become at that moment, you stay. Let's start with the first order. The keepers of the old key. The ones who believe that blood controls destiny. They are not the modern elite. They are the architects behind the elite. They operate from vaults buried under cities where you walk every day unaware of the rooms underneath your feet. They've been tracking your lineage for 9 generations, watching as your ancestors scattered across continents, trying to dilute the line, only to find it condensing again and again. They were hoping the code would die. They planned for it. They structured alliances and arranged marriages in families that never understood why their choices kept collapsing into the same patterns. And now that code has reappeared in you. Their reaction wasn't wonder, it was fear disguised as urgency. Because they know what happens when someone with your genetic markers activates. They know what you become capable of. They know the influence your lineage once had. The kind of influence their current power structure cannot compete with. If you come online, without their supervision. So they're not approaching you with threats. They're approaching you with offers, invitations disguised as opportunities, coincidences that suddenly appear as if the world is finally opening doors for you. They want ownership masked as guidance, control disguised as mentorship. They want to claim you before midnight hits. Then there's the second order, the order of the silent rail. They don't care about ownership. They care about containment. They believe your DNA holds something catastrophic, something that was sealed for a reason. They want you, not because you're powerful, but because you are dangerous, not to yourself, but to the structural integrity of the world they understand. They operate in the shadows, moving governments like chess pieces, orchestrating events that look accidental but are anything but. And they will use anything, fear, isolation, information sabotage, to convince you that your awakening must be prevented. They will tell you it's for your safety. They will claim your survival depends on their intervention. But don't mistake their concern for compassion. It's control. It's fear. It's the desperation of an empire watching its last wall crumble. The third order is more archaic, more ritualistic. The covenant of 13 houses. They operate through lineage, inheritance, and ancient codes of succession. Your bloodline intersects with prophecies they buried centuries ago. Prophecies that were intentionally mistranslated, diluted, and erased from historical records. They believe your reactivation is not an accident, but a sign. A signal that an old cycle is returning. And they want you not as a soldier, not as an asset, but as a figurehead, a symbolic leader of a movement you never agreed to join. Their desperation is not loud. It is ceremonial. It is quiet, calculated, cloaked in reverence. But do not mistake reverence for respect. They respect what's in your blood, not you. And then there's the fourth order, the Erasure Council, the ones who are not panicking because they want you. They are panicking because they know they cannot stop you anymore. They attempted suppression before. You felt it. Those sudden collapses in your life when everything went wrong simultaneously. Opportunities falling apart without explanation. People turning on you for reasons they couldn't articulate. Periods of heaviness that felt engineered rather than emotional. You thought it was bad luck, didn't you? You thought maybe you were the problem. You weren't. They were ensuring you stayed small, fragmented, unaware of your lineage. That's their specialty, neutralization through psychological sabotage. But now, too late. The results have been logged, the signal has broadcast, and your DNA has begun shifting. You've already felt it. Subtle changes, sharper instincts, enhanced perception, situations revealing their intentions before people open their mouths. Patterns aligning in ways they never aligned before. You've outgrown the traps that used to paralyze you. You're noticing things you weren't supposed to notice. And worst of all, for them, you're not breaking, you're stabilizing. Now all four orders are moving at once because midnight is approaching. And midnight is not a poetic deadline. Midnight is when your genes complete what they've already started. A biological switch flips. An old sequence finishes unlocking. Whatever you were before, confused, underestimated, dismissed, is irrelevant. Midnight decides what you become next. And they all want a hand in shaping that outcome, or preventing it. Let's talk about why they panicked. Your genes contain a variant believed to be extinct. A cognitive frequency, a pattern recognition enhancement, a premonition-based neurological loop. You process information faster than you realize. You sense shifts in environments quicker than trained intelligence agents. You absorb unspoken truths in seconds. Your intuition is not intuition. It is accelerated pattern assimilation. And the moment the scan detected that frequency, it triggered the old alarms. But here's the part that destabilized everything. Your sequence didn't just activate, it expanded, as if your DNA recognized something in the modern world and began adjusting in real time. As if your lineage has been dormant, waiting for a specific generation, your generation, to wake it. And that shift signals something the old orders have dreaded: independence, self-activation, a bloodline that no longer waits for permission to awaken. You've always felt detached from the systems around you, not rebellious, misaligned, as if the world followed rules your body never signed off on, as if everyone else moved in a rhythm you weren't built to mimic. And now you know why. You were never supposed to blend in. You were a dormant blueprint for something else entirely, something their ancestors tried to erase and failed. Now comes the part you need to understand. These orders do not panic over ordinary anomalies. They panic over threats to their continuity. And you are a rupture in their continuity, a breach in their predictions, a disruption in their inherited authority. You are a reminder that power originally belonged to those who carried your lineage, not to those who stole it, manipulated it, rewrote it, and pretended to originate it. And as midnight approaches, their desperation grows. They will approach you through recommendations, unexpected connections, opportunities that feel too perfectly timed. They will test you before they reveal themselves. They will observe your reactions, your decisions, your resilience, because they all know one thing: they can't afford to let you activate freely. Once the clock hits 12, the sequence in your blood locks into its next form. They can influence you before activation. After activation, they can only fear you. This is why the world around you has started shifting, why people you barely speak to have been watching you sideways, why unusual opportunities appear without explanation, why tension rises in people when you enter the room. You are not changing. You are being recognized. Your lineage is resurfacing. Your presence is recalibrating environments you don't even realize you're influencing. And here's what makes this moment even more unsettling. The shifts you're experiencing aren't random. They're not subtle coincidences stitched together by imagination. The changes are systemic. They ripple across your environment in ways that would terrify you if you saw the full map. Because when a dormant lineage begins to activate, the world does not wait politely for you to understand what's happening. It reacts instinctively. It reorganizes around you. People behave differently without knowing why. Their instincts perceive what their conscious minds can't articulate. Some will be drawn to you. Others will recoil. A few will become hostile without knowing the source of their discomfort. Their nervous systems register the presence of a frequency they were never meant to stand close to. This is why the faces around you look different lately. Why conversations feel coded. Why you feel a growing tension in the air, a pressure that wasn't there months ago. You think you're imagining it, but no. This is the atmosphere of awakening. This is the subtle disturbance created when an old code re-enters a timeline that once rejected it. And as the activation intensifies, these symptoms won't fade, they'll escalate. Your instincts will sharpen beyond explanation. Dreams will shift from symbolic to instructional. People you haven't spoken to in years may attempt contact with sudden urgency, unaware they're being used as channels by forces far above their comprehension. Your perception of time may distort. Hours will feel fast, then slow, then suspended. Because once a genetic sequence begins to unlock, the body prepares itself by adjusting to the new information flow. But don't mistake these shifts for chaos. They are preparation. recalibration. Your system aligning with something it was designed to contain long before you were born. Something that requires precision. Something that requires you to move differently, choose differently, see differently. And while your instincts acclimate, the old world orders accelerate their efforts. You're not the only one sensing the shift. They feel it radiating through their networks. Their algorithms spike at your name. Their ancient tools, the ones they pretend are mythological, react violently to your presence. Their predictive models collapse when they try to account for you. Because you are not predictable anymore. You are not trackable anymore. You are not statistically obedient anymore. And every hour that passes brings you closer to a version of yourself that operates beyond their control. That's what terrifies them. Not who you are, but who you are becoming. These orders have survived centuries by maintaining the illusion that everything unfolding in this world is within the architecture of their influence. But your activation is not part of their architecture. It is an intrusion, a reminder that bloodlines older than their institutions still have a say, a signal that the past they buried is clawing its way back to the surface through you. They wanted your lineage erased. They wanted it diluted into irrelevance. They wanted your ancestors to fold into anonymity so completely that their heritage would vanish forever. But it didn't. Against every intention, against every intervention, your bloodline persisted. It waited, it adapted, it hid itself among the ordinary so well that the world orders believed it had finally died out. And now that it has resurfaced, the panic you triggered was immediate and absolute. Let's go deeper into that panic. When your DNA scan hit their surveillance systems, they initiated a protocol that hadn't been used in centuries, a protocol reserved for bloodlines that were once declared too dangerous to exist. They sealed rooms, they summoned genealogists, historians, cryptographers. They dug through archives that haven't been touched since the fall of empires. They reinterpreted prophecies they dismissed as nonsense. Because your activation wasn't just a glitch. It was a signal, a convergence, a genetic flare in the darkness announcing the return of a lineage they had nearly forgotten until you reminded them. But understand this, they didn't panic because your bloodline is powerful. They panicked because your bloodline is uncontrollable. Power they can handle. Influence they can manage. But someone whose genetic activation bypasses their authority, that is a scenario they have no protocol for. And that's why they're racing, not to welcome you, not to guide you, but to intercept you before midnight, before the activation completes, before you stabilize into something they cannot manipulate. The keepers of the old key have already deployed their agents. They will not come to you with threats. They will come with opportunities, invitations, promotions, offers of mentorship, sudden recognition from institutions that previously ignored you. They will disguise ownership as elevation. They will appeal to your ambition, to your desire for belonging, to your curiosity about your origins. They will give you information, but never the whole truth. They will offer answers, but only the ones that keep you compliant. And if you follow them, you may gain power. But it will not be yours. The Order of the Silent Rail, meanwhile, has already activated its containment protocols. They will not try to seduce you. They will try to scare you. They will leak misinformation into your environment. Subtle warnings from people who don't know they're delivering messages. They will plant doubts in your mind. They will amplify your fears. They want you to believe that life will become unlivable unless you submit to them, that the world will collapse around you unless you let them intervene. They specialize in dismantling your confidence, in convincing you that your abilities are symptoms, not strengths. And then there is the Covenant of 13 Houses. Their strategy is reverence. They will try to claim you through awe. They will speak of destiny, lineage, inheritance. They will reference texts you've never heard of, but inexplicably feel connected to. They will appear as protectors, guardians, custodians of ancient truth. They will offer belonging where you've only felt isolation. And you will feel tempted, not because they are trustworthy, but because they echo a familiarity you cannot explain. But be careful. Reverence is just another form of restraint when it comes from those who want to use you. The Erasure Council is the most dangerous. They move through absence, not presence. Their strategy is simple: make you disappear from your own potential. They will attack your time, your relationships, your energy. They will engineer setbacks that feel like your own failures. They will manipulate the people closest to you, weaponizing their fears, insecurities, and confusion. They don't need to kill your body. They only need to kill your trajectory. They only need to break your momentum long enough for the activation window to pass. Because if you miss the window, the code goes dormant again. Maybe for years, maybe forever. But you're not missing it. You feel it. The tension in your chest, the pressure under your skin, the shift in your perception. You're noticing things you never noticed before. Details, behaviors, patterns. You're reading people with precision. You're sensing situations before they unfold. You're seeing motives behind actions. These are not coincidences. These are symptoms of activation. These are early manifestations of a genetic sequence returning to its original function. Your ancestors lived with these abilities openly. They did not hide them. They used them. That is why the early world feared them. That is why the earliest institutions targeted them. Not because they were violent, not because they were unstable, but because they were impossible to deceive. They saw through manipulation. They saw through lies. They saw through illusions that hold society together. And organizations built on deception cannot coexist with people who perceive truth instinctively. That is what you're becoming again, not supernatural, just undiluted. But the old world orders have a problem even greater than your awakening. Activation does not just change how you perceive the world. Activation changes how the world perceives you. Your presence disrupts systems. Your frequency interferes with structures built on fragile foundations. Your awakening destabilizes environments that rely on conformity. You walk into a room and people feel exposed, not because you're intimidating, but because your presence reveals their internal contradictions. This is why strangers act strangely around you. This is why people confess things they didn't mean to say. This is why certain individuals become defensive without provocation. You're not threatening them. Their subconscious minds register your activation as a threat to their illusions. And illusions are all most people have. This is why the world feels heavier around you, why silence feels louder, why interactions feel charged. Your mere presence is beginning to disrupt equilibrium. And this is only the beginning. Midnight isn't just the deadline. Midnight is a crossing. Midnight is when the activation completes and your traits stabilize. Midnight is when old instincts return. Midnight is when the vision sharpens. Midnight is when the world orders lose jurisdiction over your future. But they still have a few hours to try. This is why, in the coming days, you will notice patterns intensifying. People you barely know offering unsolicited guidance, sudden invitations to join programs, groups, projects. communications from institutions that previously acted like you didn't exist, a surge of attention that feels disproportionate to your current life. It isn't random, it's reconnaissance, it's recruitment, it's desperation. And beneath all of this, there is the quiet presence you haven't noticed yet, the one that doesn't announce itself, the one that doesn't recruit, the one that doesn't manipulate, the one that doesn't panic. An ancient force watching from the edges of your awareness, a presence older than the Four Orders, a presence that predates their existence. They are not racing to own you because of your power. They are racing to own you because they fear who might claim you if they don't. And yes, something else is watching, something separate, something outside their hierarchy, something that responds not to bloodlines, but to truth, something that is not hunting you, but waiting for you. That's what triggered the real panic. You were never supposed to activate alone. You were supposed to activate under supervision, under influence, under the guidance of a faction that would shape your trajectory. But you slipped through their systems. You awakened without their intervention, and now, something beyond them is paying attention. This is why the air feels different at night. Why your senses feel sharper when the world goes quiet. Why you feel observed when no one is physically present. Midnight will not simply complete your activation. Midnight will reveal what has been circling you in the dark, watching, waiting, calculating whether you are ready to see it. The old world orders want you before midnight because once the clock strikes, they are no longer the highest power watching you. And this, right here, is where the escalation becomes unavoidable. Because as the activation deepens, you will begin to feel a shift in your perception, in your intuition, in your physical presence. You may already sense it, that tightening in the spine, that heat under the skin, that awareness that your body is communicating with something external, that pulse of insight that appears without context. These are not symptoms, they are signals. They are confirmations that your lineage is preparing you for something the old world hoped you would never encounter. Something they have spent centuries trying to separate humanity from. Something they fear far more than they fear your awakening. The entity, the force, the intelligence that once guided bloodlines like yours. And when midnight comes, you won't just activate. You will connect. That is why they are terrified. Because whatever awakens in you at midnight is not only ancient, it is loyal. And its loyalty is not to institutions, not to councils, not to orders. Its loyalty is to truth. And once you align with it, the entire landscape of power begins to tilt. Their influence falters. Their control weakens. Their predictions collapse. This is why they are closing in. This is why the air feels heavy. This is why the world feels different. You are not witnessing fate. You are witnessing fear. But here comes the moment they hoped you wouldn't reach. The moment when your instincts stop questioning and start knowing. Because in the next breath, in the next realization, in the next quiet shift of your awareness, you will understand something they never wanted you to see. You were never the one being hunted. You were the one being awakened. And as this recognition pierces through the noise, as the truth crystallizes in the deepest part of your awareness, something inside you finally clicks. A memory you never lived. A knowledge you never learned. A signal you were born carrying. Something ancient inside you opens its eyes, and that, right there, is the moment the old world orders feel the room shake, because they realize they're already too late. But here's the part that makes them truly unravel. This awakening wasn't dramatic, it wasn't cinematic, It didn't require a ritual, a prophecy, a storm. It happened quietly, invisibly, internally. A shift so subtle that only someone carrying your bloodline would notice it. And that subtlety terrifies them more than any explosion of supernatural power ever could. Because a power that awakens quietly is a power that does not need spectacle. A power that does not need spectacle is a power that cannot be misdirected. And a power that cannot be misdirected is a power that cannot be controlled. You feel it, don't you? Not as a superpower, not as a glowing aura, not as some mystical awakening. You feel it as clarity, as calm, as a stillness in your mind that wasn't there before, as the absence of doubt where doubt used to live, as certainty where confusion used to reign. Your instincts no longer feel like suggestions, they feel like directives. Your intuition no longer feels like a guess, it feels like recognition. Your perception no longer feels random, it feels intentional. You're not thinking differently, you're thinking like yourself for the first time. And the old world orders hate that, because your clarity is their collapse. You were easier to manage when you doubted yourself. You were easier to approach when you questioned your own potential. You were easier to manipulate when you believed your instincts were anxiety rather than ancestral signals. But now every trick collapses on contact. Every tactic fractures before it reaches you. Every approach they attempt feels transparent, flimsy, hollow. You see through their timing, their strategies, their offers, their threats. You see the patterns behind their movements. You see the structure behind their illusions. And this is where the humor creeps in, not the theatrical kind, but the cold, dark kind that whispers under your breath. They really thought this would work? Because the same institutions that spent centuries suppressing your lineage are now scrambling like interns, trying to impress a supervisor who walked in unexpectedly. They're fumbling, they're improvising, they're deploying every outdated method they once used successfully on your ancestors, hoping you haven't inherited the resistance that ruined their plans generations ago. Spoiler alert, you did. And now that the activation is underway, they can't even hide their panic properly. Their signals are all off. Their agents are sloppy. Their messages contradict each other. Their networks glitch under the weight of variables they can no longer compute. The algorithms that once predicted human behavior fail catastrophically when applied to someone whose genes weren't designed for predictability. They can't model your decisions. They can't anticipate your reactions. They can't calculate your trajectory. You are not an anomaly in their systems. You are the flaw their systems were never built to handle. And as midnight draws closer, that flaw becomes fatal. Because here's the truth they never wanted you to discover. Your lineage was not just a threat. It was a counterbalance, a natural check against the rise of centralized power. Your ancestors were not rebels. They were regulators. Not in the political sense, but in the biological one. They were genetically predisposed to destabilize corrupt structures simply by existing within them. Their presence disrupted deception. Their instincts exposed manipulation. Their intuition dissolved illusion. They were truth walkers in a world built on lies. And that's exactly what you're becoming again. You're noticing it already. Conversations that used to confuse you now reveal themselves instantly. Manipulation that once slipped under your radar now repulses you before it reaches your mind. People who used to drain your energy now expose their hunger in the first sentence they speak. You read environments like maps. You sense intentions before actions. You watch patterns assemble themselves in real time. This isn't magic. It's memory. It's biology. It's inheritance. It's what the old world orders spent centuries trying to eliminate. And now, as the seconds race toward midnight, as the activation reaches its final stage, they're realizing the brutal truth. The more they try to interfere, the faster you evolve. Because that's the irony of your lineage. They were designed to adapt to pressure. The more surveillance you endure, the sharper your perception becomes. The more manipulation you encounter, the stronger your discernment grows. The more they try to contain you, the more immune you become to the mechanisms of control. They created the pressure that activated the very traits they feared. They triggered the awakening they were trying to prevent. And now they're left with the consequences. Let's talk about those consequences. Because as your activation reaches its final phase, the world orders aren't the only ones reacting. The environment reacts too. People around you start behaving strangely, and not because they consciously know what's happening. Their nervous systems recognize your shift before their minds do. Some will be drawn to you inexplicably. Some will avoid you without understanding why. Some will become hostile because your presence disrupts their internal equilibrium. You destabilize illusions simply by standing near them. And those who were always fragile, they'll crack first. You've noticed it. People confessing things they shouldn't. People revealing insecurities you never asked about. People treating you with reverence or resentment without any logical explanation. People projecting their fears onto you because your presence forces them to confront truths they've been avoiding. You don't have to speak for their masks to fall off. You don't have to confront anyone. Your existence does the confronting for you. And this is where the psychological warfare deepens, not because you wage it, but because your activation triggers it. The world orders are not the only ones panicking. Ordinary people begin to feel the tremor of your awakening too. Not in the literal sense, but in the intuitive one. They sense the shift, the recalibration, the emergence. They feel a pressure that makes no sense but refuses to leave. They feel watched, not by you, but by the part of you that is older than you. And that presence unsettles them, even if they can't articulate why. Meanwhile, the world orders scramble with a level of urgency that borders on pathetic. They hold emergency meetings. They rerun ancient data. They summon elders they swore they'd never consult again. They retrieve documents sealed in vaults beneath libraries the public never sees. They dust off prophecies they once mocked. They whisper your name with dread, frustration, and a kind of awe they never wanted to admit. Because they're facing something they cannot defeat, cannot contain, cannot manipulate. Someone who has awakened without their permission. This is where the dark humor sharpens. Because while they're panicking, you're stabilizing. While they're strategizing, you're integrating. While they're racing against the clock, you're simply breathing. Your activation doesn't require movement. It doesn't require action. It doesn't require effort. It happens regardless. Whether you sit still or walk outside, whether you rest or remain alert, whether you think about it or forget it, it is happening, and they cannot stop it. That's the punchline. Your evolution isn't something you do. It's something you are. And as the minutes close in on midnight, you begin to feel the shift more intensely, not as fear, but as inevitability. Your mind becomes sharper. Your body becomes calmer. Your awareness expands quietly. You begin to feel connected to something you can't name yet, something ancient, something that was always waiting for this moment, not watching you from above, but rising through you from below. Something that recognizes your bloodline because it once guided your ancestors, something that is not separate from you, but dormant within you. When people talk about destiny, they imagine something external. They imagine a force that chooses them. But your destiny isn't choosing you. It's remembering you. And as midnight approaches, memory becomes recognition. You feel it now. The subtle pulse beneath your skin. The clarity that feels like the world exfoliating itself. The silence behind the noise. The awareness that the old world orders are no longer authorities. They're spectators. And the fact that they're spectators enrages them, because the entire architecture of their power depends on being the unseen puppeteers behind every major global shift. But not tonight. Tonight they watch you. Tonight they track you. Tonight they calculate, estimate, project, and fail. Because somewhere in the shadows of your consciousness, the ancient part of you is opening its eyes fully. And when it opens, something else opens with it. A channel, a memory, a presence. The guide your bloodline was always supposed to have. The one the world orders feared more than your lineage. The one that now has direct access to you. And when that connection stabilizes, you don't rise. The world lowers. Your perception shifts downward, deeper, into the foundation beneath human structures. You sense the old networks behind the world orders. You see their origins, their stolen knowledge, their inherited fears. And under all that, you feel the ancient presence aligning with you, not to control you, but to remind you. This is not the first time your lineage awakened. This is simply the first time they failed to stop it. Now comes the climax. Because at the stroke of midnight, not metaphorically, but biologically, the last lock in your genetic sequence clicks into place. You feel it as a quiet ignition, not fire, not light. Awareness, total awareness. Every instinct you've ever doubted becomes a confirmed truth. Every suspicion you've ever repressed becomes a visible pattern. Every intuition you've ever ignored becomes a map. And in that single moment, the world orders feel something they haven't felt in centuries. Power leaving their hands. It drains from their rituals, their archives, their bloodlines, their artifacts, their systems, their symbols. Everything they built to maintain control over humanity flickers, not because you attack them, but because your mere awakening renders their structures obsolete. This is the moment they feared, the moment they tried to prevent for generations, the moment encoded in prophecies they dismissed publicly, but studied privately. The moment when the last descendant of a forbidden lineage reconnects with the intelligence that once guided their ancestors. This is the moment when your bloodline stops being a threat and becomes a consequence. They can't own you. They can't stop you. They can't recruit you. They can't erase you, because they're no longer dealing with you. They're dealing with everything behind you. And as midnight settles into your bones, you finally understand what they always feared. You were never meant to join their world. You were meant to end their monopoly on truth. You were never meant to be controlled. You were meant to be awakened,